Welcome back to our YouTube channel, Aman Codes. In today's episode, we are going to discuss about last operators in these operators and expressions, that is identity operators. So let's see what is identity operators. So the purpose of identity operators is that to compare the memory addresses, in the sense references of two objects, in order to compare two object references or memory addresses, then we are going to use this identity operators. So identity operators are meant to be compare the memory addresses of two objects. So in previous episode we have discussed membership operator. The membership operator is used to check whether the value is present in that iterable object or not. This identity operators is used to compare the memory addresses of two objects. That is the difference between membership operator and this identity operator. So in Python programming, we have two types of identity operators. So let's see what are they. One is operator, another is not operator. So let's see what is operator. So let's see the syntax. Object 1 is object 2. Here is operator returns true provided both the objects contains same memory addresses. When this object 1 and object 2 contains same memory addresses, then this is operator is going to return true. When this object 1 and object 2 contains different memory addresses, then this is operator is going to return false. See here is operator returns false provided both the object contains different memory addresses. So this is the thing we have to understand in is operator. So let's understand what is not operator. So see here syntax. Object 1 is not object 2. So here is not operator returns true provided both the objects contains different memory addresses. So quite opposite of is operator. Here object 1 and object 2 contains different memory addresses, then this is not operator is going to return true. If the object 1 and object 2 contains the same memory addresses, then this is not operator is going to return false. So see here is not operator returns false provided both the objects contains the same memory addresses. So this is important thing we have to remember in is not operator. So before seeing the programming examples about this is operator and is not operator, we are going to see some note points. So let's see the note number 1. When two objects are in deep copy in the sense the two objects contains the same memory addresses. And if we apply is operator on those objects, it returns true. So when the both objects are in deep copy, if we apply is operator on those objects, then it returns true. When two objects are in deep copy, if we apply is not, so first we are going to apply is, then it is going to return true. Then after that, if we are going to apply is not, then it is going to returns false. So this is the note 1 which is important. So the reverse of note 1 is note 2. See here, when two objects are in shallow copy in the sense the memory address of both objects are different. So if we apply is operator on those objects, it returns false. In previously it returns true when we apply is operator on deep copy. In this note number 2, it returns false when we apply is operator on shallow copy. So when two objects are in shallow copy, if we apply is not operator, then it returns true. So this is about note number 2. So try to understand this note. When we store some values of multiple objects of set, frozen set, list, tuple, range, bytes, byte array, on those objects, if we apply is operator, then it is going to return false. When we apply is operator on the same values of multiple objects, then it is going to return false. For example, so this is my ls is equals to 10 comma 20. So this is my LA is equals to 10 comma 20. So these are the list objects, right? With same values 10 here 20 here, 10 here, 20 here, right? So see here, when we store same values in multiple object of this data type, I have used a list. See here, when we store the same values on multiple objects of list, then if we try to apply is operator on this ls is la, if we apply this is operator, then it is going to return false. So the output is going to return false. And if we apply is not operator, it is going to return true. So ls is not la, the output is going to be true. If we apply is operator, the output is going to be false. Try to see this most important point on string data. So this is note number 3 and this is note number 4. The note number 4 is when two str objects contains string data with the same cases and the same meaning and the same order. So first see here, I have s is equals to like this Python. So see here, I have two objects of same type, str type. So the data we are declared in s, data we are declared in y, both are same with the same cases. When two str objects contains str data, string data with the same cases. Yes, I have provided here same cases with the same meaning. Yes, Python, same meaning and same order. Yes, I have mentioned same order. At place of P in S object, I have mentioned same P in Y object. So the order is also same. Then on those objects, if we apply is operator like this, S is Y, then the is operator returns true. So the output is going to be true. When we apply like this, yes is not y, then the output is going to be false. See here, is not returns false, right? So this is important note point on this str data. So these are the important note points in this identity operators. So let's see the practical examples of is operator and then not is operator, and then we are going to see note number 1, note number 2, note number 3 and note number 4. So first try to understand this thing. If I declare a is equals to 10 and if I declare b is equals to 20 and I try to print the memory address of a, see here, and I try to print the memory address of b, then the both memory addresses are different. Then if apply is operator like this, a is b, so what this is operator is going to, it is going to compare the memory addresses of both objects. If the memory addresses of both the objects is the same, it is going to return true. Here in this case, the memory addresses are different, right? So the answer is going to be false. See here, we got false as an output, right? So like this, if apply is not operator on this both objects, the output is going to be true. Really, yes, the both objects are not same. That is the reason it has retrieved the output as true. So now try to observe this. I'm declaring LST is equals to 10 comma Denise. So this is my LST, that is 10 comma Denise, and I'm trying to print this LST and a type of LST. See here, now I'm going to print like this LST comma type of LST comma ID of LST. I'm going to print like this here itself. Now try to see the output. See here, this is my LST which comes under class list. The memory address of that LST object is this. So I'm going to do the deep copy like this. LST1 is equals to LST. So this declares deep copy, right? Deep copy. Yes, I have successfully declared the deep copy. And now I'm trying to print like this. ID of LST1, type of LST1, and I'm going to print a value of LST1. See here, when we try to print LST1, we have same information 10 comma Dennis class list, and the memory address is also going to be same. See here, we have 28 and so on 200. We here also we have 28 and so on 200. The memory addresses of LST1 and LST is the same, right? So see here, when we come to this theory part, if we try to understand this note 1, when the two objects are in deep copy, if we are trying to apply is operator on those objects, it is going to return true, right? As per our note 1. See here, I'm going to try this thing. Now I'm going to test LST is LST1. So is operator is going to compare the memory addresses of LST1 and LST2. So PVM is going to check the memory address of LST. So the memory address of LST is this, and then PVM is going to check the memory address of LST1. So the memory address of LST1 is also same. So then is operator is going to return true as an output. Why? Because the memory address of LST and LST1 both are same. See here, the output we have retrieved true, right? So for this objects only, if I try to apply is not operator, then the output is going to be false. See here, false. Why? The memory addresses are same. We are declared not same. So that is wrong, right? So that is the reason we got the output as false. So try to consider LST1. So this is my LST1, right? So now I'm going to use LST2 is equals to LST1 dot copy of. It is going to implement shallow copy, right? So it is going to implement shallow copy. So here, shallow copy in the sense the memory addresses are different. So when I try to print LST2 and its type and its memory address, see if you observe the memory address of LST1 and LST2, they are different. See here we have 200, we have 640. So starting is the same, but ending is not same, right? So memory addresses are different. So try to see this note point number 2. When two objects are in shallow copy, if we apply is operator on those objects, it is going to return false. So if we apply is not operator, then it is going to return true. This is our note point number 2, right? So now I'm trying to execute like this. LST1 is LST2. Now I'm going to use LST1 is LST2. So what is this is operator is going to do? Is operator is going to compare the memory addresses of LST1 and LST2. So the memory address of LST1 is this. The memory address of LST2 is this. Both are different. Then the output is going to be returned as false. See here, we have retrieved the output as false, right? So same thing, but I'm going to declare is not. Then the output is going to be true. See here, so we retrieved the output as true, right? So this is about note point number 2. So some examples are like this. I'm declaring A is equals to none and I'm declaring B is equals to none. Now I'm going to print like this. Print of value A comma type of that value A and ID of that value A. So the output is going to be C. The value is none, class none type. So the memory address of that A value is this. Next, I'm going to print the memory address of B, type of that B, and value of that B. See, the output is this. Value is none, class is none type, and the memory address is this. If you try to understand the memory address of A and B, see the memory addresses are same, right? 544, 544. Then if I try to execute A is B, then the output is going to be true. See here, we got the output as true. Why? So is operator is going to compare the memory address of A and B. So the memory address of A is this. The memory address of B is this. So the both the memory addresses are same. That is the reason is operator returns true. So when we use is not operator in this both A and B, the output is going to be false. See here, the output is false. Why? Is not operator is going to compare the memory addresses of A and B. So the memory address of A and B are same. So it is going to return false when the memory address of both the objects are same. So this is an important example. So if I try to declare dict objects, D1 is equals to like this 10 colon orange. So I declared and dict object D1 is equals to the value of key is 10, value of value is orange, value of key is 20, value of value is apple, right? So same thing I'm going to declare with this D2 object. So D1 object, D2 object contains the same information in the sense it has the same data, right? So now I'm trying to print the ID of D1. See, the ID of D1 is this, right? So now I'm going to print the ID of D2. The output is this. So see here, observe the memory addresses of D1 and D2. The memory address of D1, the memory address of D2 is different. See here, when we come to last, we have 328, we have 368, right? So the memory addresses of both these objects are different. When the information inside that object is same, then if I try to declare like this, D1 is D2, the output is going to be written as false. See here. So why the output is false? In the sense the both memory addresses are different. So try to understand our note point number 3. So this is our note point 3. When we store same values of multiple objects of set, float, list, tuple, range, bytes, byte array. So you take any type. I have declared here dict objects. You can take these all objects. On those objects, if we try to apply is operator, so here I applied is operator, right? Then it returns false. See, we got the output as false, right? So if I try to apply is not operator, then it is going to return true. Now I'm going to apply is not operator on the same objects. So the output is going to be true. We got output as true, right? So this is important and note, that is note number 3. You try to consider S1 is equals to Python, and I'm declared S2 is equals to same Python. See here, we have two str objects S1 and S2. The data that present in these two str objects are same, which has the same order, which has the same cases. See here, P has uppercase, remaining are lowercase. Here also P has uppercase, remaining all are lowercase, right? So when we try to implement S1 is S2, then the output is going to be true. See here, why S1 is S2 true? By in the sense, the memory address of S1, the memory address of S2 is same. So try to understand. I'm going to print an ID of S1 and I'm going to print an ID of S2. So if you try to observe, the IDs are same for this both S1 and S2 objects. So that is the reason it is going to return true. Try to understand our note number 4. So this is our note number 4. When two str object contains string data, see here, these are two str objects S1 and S2 which contains string data. So here we have string data, Python. So with the same case, so both objects contains same cases, right? So and same meaning. So Python and Python comes under same meaning, right? So there is no different meaning and same order also. So the order is also same, right? So then on these objects, if we apply is operator, it is going to return a true. So see, I have applied here is operator. The output we got has true, right? So here mentioned also, if we apply is operator, it returns true. If we apply is not operator, it is going to return false. So now I'm trying to apply here is not operator. S1 is not S2, then it is going to return false. See here, we have retrieved false as an output, right? So if I try to consider like this, S1 is equals to, so S1 is equals to sky, and I'm declaring like this, S2 is equals to sky. Now I'm trying to print first ID of S1, then now I'm going to print the ID of S2. See here, the ID of S2. So if you observe the IDs of S1 and S2, they are different. Then I'm trying to use S1 is S2. The output is false. Why the output is false? Is operator is going to compare the memory address of S1 and S2. So the memory address of S1 and the memory address of S2 both are different. That is the reason this is operator returned false. So if I try to use here is not, the output is going to be true. Why? The memory addresses are different. Yes, in is not operator, when the memory addresses are different, then is not operator is going to return true. So in the case of str data, this is a main note point we have to remember. So if I try to declare complex objects like A is equals to 7 plus 9j and B is equals to 7 plus 9j. So we have here two complex objects. They are A, B. Here we have same data that present in the two objects, right? So now I'm trying to print ID of A. Now I'm trying to print same ID of B. Now I'm trying to use A is B. So before I'm going to execute, so the memory address of A and the memory address of B is different, right? The output is going to be false. See here, we got output as false, right? So the one thing we have to remember, when the memory addresses are different, is going to retrieve false. Then the memory address is same, is going to retrieve true. I'm going to use is not. It is going to return true. When we use is not operator, then the memory addresses are different. Then is not is going to retrieve true. When the memory address are same, if we use is not operator, then it is going to return false. So if you consider bool values, a is equals to a value is true, b value is also true, and I'm trying to print the id of a. See here, the id of a is this and id of b is this. So if you try to observe, memory address of a, memory address of b, both are same. Then if we use a is B, the output is going to be true. If we use A is not B, the output is going to be false. This is the main point we have to remember in bool type. This is main point we have to remember in complex type. So if you try to see the float type, A is equals to 1.2 and same B is equals to 1.2. If I try to print ID of A and id of b, see here id of b, right? So the memory addresses are different. So when we are trying to use a is b, the output is false. When we try to use a is not b, the output is true. So this is important point we have to remember in float. So when we declare a is equals to 10 and b is equals to 10, then if we try to print id of a and id of b, see here id of b, right? So observe here, id of a and id of b is the same, in the sense memory addresses of a and b are same. If I use a is b, output is true. If I use a is not b, the output is false. So the main and important point comes here. So for a object, if I try to assign a value between 0 to 256 for object A and for object B. So if I declare A is equals to 256 and B is equals to 256, then an is operator is going to return true. Is not operator is going to return false. So they is going to return up to this range only. If we are declared A is equals to 257 and B is equals to 257. So when if you are trying to do A is B, then it is going to return false. If you try to do A is not B, then it is going to return true. Try to observe this note. Now I am declaring A is equals to 256 and B is equals to 256. And I'm trying to print the address of A and I'm trying to print address of that B. See here, the addresses are different. Then if I try to use A is B, it is true. When I try to use A is not B, then the output is false. So same thing if I do, so after 256, it is not going to be applicable. See here, A is equals to 257 and B is equals to 257. So if I try to print ID of A and I try to print ID of B, so the memory address of A and the memory address of B is different. So if I try to use A is B, then the output is false. If I try to use A is not B, then the output is true. See here. So up from 0 to 256, the output is going to be true, false. If you use is and is not. So after 256, if I declare it to 257, the memory addresses are different. So is operator returns false, is not operator is going to return so true. From 0 to 256 range values is going to stored in same memory address. So from above 256, it is going to store in different memory addresses. So try to observe this thing. A is equals to -5 and b is equals to minus 5. I declared a and b minus 5 values. Now I'm trying to print id of a. See here. Now I'm trying to print id of b. So if you try to observe, id of a and id of b is the same. If I try to do a is b, the output is true. If I try to see A is not B, then the output is going to be different. See here, false. So when I try to declare like this, A is equals to minus 6 and B is equals to minus 6. Then I'm trying to print ID of A and I'm trying to print ID of B. See here, if you try to observe, IDs are different. The important point here it is, so up to minus 5, it is going to store in same memory address. Below minus 5, in the sense from minus 6, it is going to store different memory address. Try to execute A is B. The output is false because different memory address. If I try to print A is not B, the output is true because it has different memory address. So these are the important points we have to remember when we are trying to solve problems on identity operators. So that's all for today's episode. In today's episode, we are discussed about identity operators. So I hope you all understand. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Aman Codes. Thank you so much for watching.